welcome to this week's podcast with me, Shelley Gotteridge, and I'm really pleased that Maggie has decided to join me for a chat today. Maggie runs the whole approach, and would you like to tell us about yourself, Maggie?
I will, and thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very excited to be joining you because I've seen your other guests and they're pretty amazing. So thank you. Um, well, shall I start a little bit with my journey because it
Yeah,
led me to the whole
that
approach.
would be amazing. Yeah.
So I was a late developer as far as the dog world is concerned. My career has been in hospitality, so I've always loved being with people. And I've always loved being with dogs because I've been a dog owner all my life and I was brought up with dogs. So I've always been quite passionate about them and found them very easy companions. So it was great. And whilst I was working within the hospitality trade, I decided that I would go and work at a local rescue on a voluntary basis. And I found it quite distressing and elating in many ways. You know, we had both. It was the soul destroying pictures that came in, stories that were told, to the transformations that we saw in dogs and the lovely homes that they found. And I spent most of my time cleaning out kennels and feeding dogs and doing a bit of playing and doing a bit of walking, which was great. But I got really frustrated that I felt that I was really limited in what I could do to help these dogs. So I decided in my ultimate wisdom that I'd go off and do a bit of a course. Um, and I'm very lucky that I live locally to a very good agricultural college that has a university centre that do great courses. So I went along and asked about doing a degree in applied animal behaviour and training. And I was a bit unsure about it really because what I really wanted to do was canine behaviour, but that was a foundation degree, and you know me, Sally. I think no, I need to do the whole thing. So so off I go and meet my the lovely course leader, and of course I left school with O levels and nothing else. So I had to go through an application process and I had to learn, I had to learn about abstracts. A friend of mine, fortunately, was doing a degree, and I said, "What on earth is an abstract? I've got to find all this information out and write this piece of work." Anyway, I wrote the piece of work, and I'm delighted to say that I was accepted on the course, and I absolutely loved it. I was the oldest by far, but I was made so very welcome by the tutors and by the students that it changed my world. Actually, it really changed my world in such a positive way. And I started to learn and felt that I could invest more into these dogs at the rescue centre and in general. And the more I learned, the more I thought I didn't know, as we all do. But that journey led me through COVID. We ended up in lockdown in the middle of that, and my real passion grew for the human animal relationship. That's where my real passion lay. And I did my dissertation actually in work that involved the well-being of dogs who were put into environments as support dogs and as therapy dogs. So I did my dissertation on that. And that was great. And whilst I was doing that, I I got a little Labrador puppy. I had two dogs anyway, and Loki came to join me. So that was lovely. So he joined my family. So my family became three dogs and me. And Loki was gorgeous, and of course, I'd learnt lots of things. So I did all my socialization, and it was at the end of lockdown, so I wasn't restricted by anything. So we went out and we did walking, and we did meeting and greeting, and we did all the practical things that we're taught to do to ensure that our dogs are happy dogs and fulfilled, and their well-being is well looked after. So I did all of that. And of course, he had two dogs that were in the family already. And what happened was that as Loki grew up, he ended up being full of testosterone, as young dogs are, and he ended up having a fight with a boxer dog, and that changed him completely.
Mm.
And it changed me completely, if I'm honest. You know, it was very scary. And he was Loki's a big dog and a strong dog, very well behaved, but big and strong all the same. So he became a lungy, barky, reactive dog. I understand all the reasons why. Absolutely, I do. I've read your books, you know, and I researched it because of my love of Loki. But what I did find was I became very anxious when I was out with him, and that did affect my well-being. It really affected my life. Um, and I spent a lot of money on other trainers and behaviourists, did loads of courses, and actually ended up in a much better place for all of
Mm.
this. But it took a huge investment from me and from Loki. So I went back to university because that area fascinated me again. And I did my master's. And you'll know, Sally, that I did my project in the effects of reactivity on attachment bonding and well-being in the owner dog dyad. And that actually led me to create, when I'd completed that, I was blown away, first of all, by the amount of response I got from people. Because, as you know, as a lot of people will know, it's really, really difficult to get people to fill in surveys for you. With the best will in the world,
Mm.
they've got to be the right size, they've got to be interesting enough. So actually, I was really keeping my fingers crossed that I'd probably get about 100 people if I was really lucky, and I got 200.
Mm.
Which was brilliant. And I had the support of people like you. So I was very fortunate, local people. And it was it was obviously quite a wanted area of research. It was things that people were interested in. So I managed to get these 200 responses, and I found as I sort of went through my project that there were so many people that were suffering um, in a way that compromised their lives. And that was through isolation, through stress, through anxiety, through. I've used a really broad brush on this and used
Mm.
the term caregiver burden, which is which sort of I've used to embrace all of these feelings of worry and stress and, oh gosh, all of these sort of knot in stomach situations that people find themselves in, and compromises their lives, where they don't go out, they walk the dog at 6 o'clock in the morning, they walk at 10 o'clock at night, they won't go on to dog walks that are popular, they find themselves in very isolated situations away from people and family. And so the idea of the whole approach was that I utilised my skills in dog behaviour and welfare and training, but also really looked at the human element as well, and recognised that it was really, really important to support the human side of the dyad, you know,
Mm.
because without that support, we risk dogs being handed in to rescue centres. We risk dogs being euthanized.
Mm.
So we risk so many things, and dogs' well-being being compromised through no intention of the owner. It's just that they don't feel that they can get the dogs out, and they
Mm.
don't feel that they are offering enough support for the dogs. So we backpedal, and so we don't walk our dogs in the way that we perhaps need to, or we don't give them the stimulation that perhaps they need, because we don't recognise that we can actually give them stimulation without 3-hour hikes. You know,
Mm.
all of that stuff. So So that's how the whole approach came to life. Sorry, that was a bit long-winded, wasn't it?
No,
Uh,
no, it's beautiful.
but that's why it came to life. And I've sort of tried to use skills that I've gained through hospitality, through dealing with people for many years. I was actually I worked with as a volunteer in the FDIVA, which is works with domestic violence project.
Mm,
So I sort of utilised those skills that I learnt with supporting people. My role was to help people get back out into society. So I sort of embraced all that again. I've done my trauma informed coaching with you. So I'm trying to embrace both sides of the story here to give people a voice and dogs a voice, and
mm,
try and blend those together, and recognise the difficulties that both sides see really, and
mm,
endure, and I have huge respect for all of these people, huge, enormous respect for all of these people that are under the sort of compromised under this caregiver burden umbrella,
mm,
if you like, because they still have their dogs and they are doing their utmost to be great dog parents. And there is no doubt that they love their dogs unconditionally, um,
mm,
but they feel alone. So I think it's really important to to get it out there that they really aren't. And I'm delighted to say there's a lot of research coming on board now that is actually saying this is a real thing. This is not you being a bit daft. It's not just you.
mm,
Um, this term is really being used now in for people who are suffering in ways that are difficult for them to manage because of their dog's behaviour. Now, that behaviour could be absolutely normal dog behaviour, and it's very subjective because one person might be able to deal with that really well, another person can't. And it's okay for that person not to be able to deal with it.
mm,
That is absolutely okay. Just because A is fine with it, B isn't necessarily fine, and C might be devastated by it. And that actually is okay. That's not a reflection of them as owners or people, or it's just how they deal with things, their nervous system, how they manage their past experiences, their present experience. It's all of these things combined, and it's actually okay. That's all right.
mm.
So it's
Yeah. We seem to live in today's culture as a lot of people are just trying to survive. Our nervous systems are in survival state, and that really resonated with me when you said some people can cope with it and some people can't. And I imagine if you're living in a survival state as a person with unprocessed trauma, and part of your survival state is not to be seen by the outside world, and then your dog is getting people looking at you constantly by their behavior, I imagine that person, well, their nervous system thinks they could die.
yeah,
So it's not that they're a bit embarrassed. You're actually looking at a body that is trying to survive it. So that makes perfect sense.
mm,
Um, yeah.
yeah, it really is. I mean, I think that this isn't about this. A lot of people feel really judged, really judged, and that was really apparent in the research that I did, because I asked people just to put one sentence in about how they felt. And I had some great things that were, um, he's a bit of a he's a bit of an idiot, but he's my idiot and I love him regardless, and that's absolutely fine. So there are some real positives to this as well. It's not all doom and gloom, it's not all
Mm,
negative. So you get, because your highs are huge highs when your dog does something or reacts in a way that you weren't expecting. That's a really positive thing. But then I had lots of, people tell me I shouldn't have a dog. I got shouted at this morning by a dog walker.
mm,
Sometimes it makes me resent my dog because I'm being judged, and it makes my blood boil, because who are we to judge anybody's personal situation? These people are doing their best to get out there and look after their dogs.
Mm.
And often the situations that we feel that we're compromised in are actually through no fault of our own. Like
Mm.
walking along with our dog, beautifully behaved on a lead, and okay, he might react, but he's on a lead and he is secure. And you might do a bit of scatter feed and try to distraction and try to get him regulated. If you've got an off-lead dog with somebody saying, "Oh, don't worry, he's friendly," bounding towards you, you are going to go into complete meltdown. Your stress signals are going to go all over the place. Your dog will smell all of that before they necessarily even see the other dog. So that
Mm.
person has compromised your well-being terribly, and then they criticize you for it. No, it's just not on. It's not on. Um,
No.
so so I think it's really important that people who are out there trying really don't self-blame all the time as well, because that's another thing, of course, that we're very good
Mm.
at doing, aren't we? If we're not in the best place, it's always our fault. It's got to be our fault, or
Yeah.
our dog's fault. It's not the other dog, it's not the other person, because they've told us it's our fault. And then we go home and we think, yeah, that's definitely our fault, and our brain takes over and we berate ourselves for everything.
Mm.
So so the idea for the whole approach moving forward is really to build this community of people that recognize that it's okay to feel like this. There are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people that are feeling like this. There's a huge support system out there within those people themselves, and if
Mm.
that's managed well with the appropriate support, then actually we've got a thriving community there that can really bolster each other up and move forward. And
Mm.
with the research that's coming out and the recognition it's getting, I think there's an awful lot of help out there, and it's becoming real. It's becoming real,
Yeah.
which is huge, which is huge.
Mm. I imagine it's made harder by it being very difficult to, if you don't know anything about dog training and behavior and you ask for help and then you get the wrong kind of help, and you do that two or three times even, and then you have a much more stressed and confused dog, and then you're more stressed and confused. And so how much would you say that poor quality dog training is adding to caregiver burden for dogs who react?
Oh, enormously, Sally, enormously, because I am often not the first person that goes to see a client. Very often, I'm not the first person that goes to see a client. And I think that are so many conflicting, there's so much conflicting advice available to us. And we all scroll at midnight, don't we, when we've got a problem, and try to
Mm.
find a solution.
Mm.
And often with particularly with reactivity, I suppose, there is more danger to be led to a sort of quick fix, sort of I can sort this attitude, and it's an easy fix, and that can make you feel even more distressed with yourself, because if that's it that easy, how come I haven't got there yet?
Yeah.
And B, anxious and nervous and reactive dogs need handling with kid gloves, I always think. They need
Mm.
real love and understanding and care and gentle work, as do their owners. So often the paths you tend to be led down, or that seem most appealing, and again, I get it, this is not a criticism on the owners, is you get to the point where I am so desperate, I need somebody to sort this, and I need them to sort it out
Mm.
for me, and I
Mm.
can't deal with this anymore. So and I need it now, and it's a huge emotional investment for both the owner and the dog. It's a huge financial investment for people. And then when it doesn't work and it makes it worse, oh God, how disappointing is that? And that gets
Mm,
the caregiver burden gets worse. Dog gets more anxious. So it's really
mm,
it's so difficult. It's minefield out there. So difficult.
mm.
Yeah.
So if we consider that the dog is an individual and the human is an individual, and then if we consider the relationship between them also as an individual, would you say it's that relationship that gets broken by
Yes.
bad training?
Yeah.
The dog and that relationship.
Yes. Yeah. The dog gets
Yeah.
can get. Obviously, can get broken or more behaviour can get more intense, I suppose.
More dysregulated.
Yeah, more dysregulated. Their nervous system is absolutely shot. And that relationship, I mean, I get, that dogs look for a secure attachment, don't they? They want that
Mm,
security, they want that secure attachment. The more anxious, research has shown that the more anxious they become, the more they pull towards that secure attachment that they see in their human. And actually, because the relationship has been broken or damaged, the more the human is likely to pull away from that relationship, because actually that attachment has been it's been damaged. It's and so yeah, so what I found was the more my dog wanted the human, the more their owner, the more likely their owner was to be, I can't deal with this at the moment, and you're getting very needy, and I can't deal with you at the moment because my bond is a bit sort of not quite there at the minute, and I've got to rebuild that bond because I'm now disappointed. So yeah, so it can be really that relationship, that middle section is really pivotal to both sides.
mm,
So
mm.
it's sort of a three-pronged situation, you know.
Yeah. That's just blown my mind. The that you said that research has shown that the dog, the more anxious they get, the more needy they get towards their person. And then, of course, if you've had a not a very good trainer or professional take the dog and make the dog do the thing, and then the owner goes away with the dog and can't make the dog do the thing because they haven't the same kind of dominant energy, then that would create a more stress towards the dog, wouldn't it,
Yes.
in the human
Yeah.
and that poor dog.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I suppose I started this journey with trying to protect. Well, I didn't just start this journey. My journey continues with wanting to keep those two, the two together and the
Mm,
relationship good, because we have to speak for the dogs. You know, we have to. They can't, and it's so important that their well-being is so important in all of this. And I couldn't believe the figures I was reading about how many were were sent to rescues, were, 12 dogs. This isn't all, I think it's through behaviour, but 12 dogs are put to sleep every day. I
mm,
mean, that's scary, isn't it? Because and some of these issues will be unmanageable. I understand that, but some really aren't. So it was that, and that broken bond where people are devastated because they've got to hand their dog in, and people don't do it lightly. Some do,
mm,
some do, but I bet 99% don't. So it was to prevent all of that. It was really to, how do we stop this from happening? What do we need to do to help the dog and to help the human to rebuild that relationship and make that relationship as solid as it possibly can be, recognizing that we can't always, and I hate the term, so please forgive me for this, but we can't always fix a situation.
mm,
And there aren't quick fixes. But we can't always we can't always undo some of the damage that has been done. And often
Mm.
we don't know what damage has been done because we have rescues and different scenarios that we actually don't know what's happened. But what we can do is learn to live a really lovely life within certain limitations that our dog and we need. And it's not always the dog, it's us as well. Sometimes there are things that we don't want to do, and we can't compromise ourselves and put ourselves
Mm.
in that position. And we have very understanding partners in our dogs, don't we? So, we can rub along really nicely together
Mm.
and just recognize what the other needs from the other. So
Yeah.
it's it's sort of protecting that and getting the help to people and their dogs in the right way, really.
Yeah. As well, do you think that the um the stress, the anxiety that the dog's showing and that the anxiety that the person is showing, actually just by focusing not on what their dog is doing, but actually focusing on who their dog is and really slowing down and really watching and really communicating, do you think that can enhance the person's life as well?
I think it can hugely change it, actually.
Mm.
I think that we have in society there is the ideal dog walker and dog person who is out on their beautifully behaved dog who is marching next to them, looking at them lovingly. And we see all these pictures and we want a dog like that, don't we?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be lovely just to go out with? And actually, if you and this is what I love about the group that I'm seeing in my Facebook group at the moment. They're kind of getting more real about it, and they are finding out who their dog is,
Mm.
um, and that is enhancing their life because it's we learn about each other, don't we? And I think once you get to know your dog, I mean, Loki's a really funny soul. He is. I, I, I tried to adopt a kitten. He was frightened of the kitten.
Oh.
He's 38 kilos of dog. And I,
Oh.
and I found these feral kittens, and well, we found them. Mum got killed, and we adopted these tiny kittens, and we were rearing them. And well, my nephew was, and I offered to look after them for a little while. And I was going to keep two of them. I thought, well, I'll keep two. I've had cats in the past. Not a chance. He was absolutely beside himself with them. There was no way these kittens were going to come in. They were tiny, tiny wee things. No, not even the size of his head, but there was no way that he was going to be comfortable with kittens in the house. So that was a no-go. Straight away, I watched him and he told me, this is not for me.
Mm.
And his comfort, I mean, he might have grown to get used to them, but he'd have only got used to them. He wouldn't have embraced them. And that mattered. The quality of the kitten's life wouldn't have been right, and his quality of life wouldn't have been right.
Mm.
And that would have compromised my quality of life too, because I'd been trying to satisfy everybody, make them all okay. So I think really learning about your dog, taking this pressure off. I've got to do this. I've got to be this. I'm a bad person. I'm useless. All of the things that
Mm.
come with this burden that society and we create. I think that if you can take your eye off that, step away from that, and as you say, really look at your dog, who you have
Mm.
in front of you, as they look at who they have in front of them, they don't judge, do they? They're just sort of, oh, right, well, your mum or dad, or if you really get to know them, then you learn how to
Mm.
what's right for them actually, and you listen to them. And I've learned that with Loki. There are things I will not do with him because he doesn't like them, quite frankly. He doesn't.
Mm.
And I'm sure I could do lots of things to get him there, but actually he doesn't like it.
Mm.
So, and that's okay. That's okay.
Mm.
there is nothing monumental that changes my life to the degree that I can't work around the things that
Mm,
he's uncomfortable with. Um, and that's how I've found my peace with it.
mm,
So and I think it's
yeah,
important. I think it's really important. Um, yeah, but I do think it's important that you get the right help.
yeah. It's the complete, it's almost like the social pressure that we have created in culture as it is today, particularly with the social media and the way that people are on there. Um, People don't even give themselves a chance to ask what they want. It's almost like people say, well, it should be like this. My dog should be like this. And actually, the only thing that we should do is ask what works for us.
Yeah,
And it would be amazing just for so many people, no matter what their dog is doing, to say, well, what about this is important to me? What do I need? And what does my dog need? And just take social judgment, social pressure out of the equation altogether and just work on those things.
it would be wonderful if people could do that. I think that so many of the situations that we find ourselves in are actually created by others. And not
Mm,
intentionally. I'm not suggesting for 1 minute people go out to be, judgmental or look at you a certain way when you're out. And actually, once it's in our heads as well, we can blow that out of all proportion. And we know that we can be guilty of that. So if we could detach from that, if we could give ourselves that moment in time, which is why I really encourage people to stop, breathe, regulate,
mm,
really take time to sit, just sit and watch, observe, and reflect, and all of those things. If we do that, then we have so much more chance, I think,
mm,
of becoming who we need to be, um, or who we want to be, and enjoying the relationship and finding the right help and finding the right support
mm,
instead of this sort of awful cyclical situation that we get into where it just goes round and round and round,
mm,
where you get to the point where you don't want to go out in case your dog reacts, in case somebody says something, and then the next time it gets even worse, and you just end up inside yourself and unable to process anything really, because you know what it's like if you're in
stress.
flight or fight. You can't process anything. Your brain goes
Mm,
out the window. And the same with our dogs. They can't process anything if they're fearful, because we're not wired that way. We're wired to get to safety, not process what we're being
mm.
told or what we're being asked to do. So
I think, do you think that women generally, well, we have this, we have a meet other people's needs way about us, don't we?
mm,
I say women generally, but I don't want to sound like sexist or anything. But we women are generally caregivers. We're mothers. We're off, with a mother energy, with a mother earth energy. And so we very often neglect our own needs. Sometimes we don't even know what those needs are, not deeply, not, I need this. If when I've worked with people and I've asked them, a lot of people have not even known what their core needs are because we've been giving it away constantly to meeting the needs of others. Um, but that, I imagine, if you're exhausted from doing that your entire life, and then you have a dog that has very specific needs, I can see why that would become super, super stressful
mm,
because you're neglecting yourself and then you have this needy animal that needs you. And that's really dysregulating when you're neglecting yourself. So, what would you say women generally have more caregiver burden, or is it about equal, or?
think that, I mean, I can only go by, I suppose I can only go by particularly my own research. And obviously, this is not research that's been published or anything like that,
Mm,
but interesting nonetheless. Um, I, the majority, and I think this is actually across the board, the majority are women. Now, whether that is because the women are more prepared to fill in these surveys, which it could be
mm,
because, they are perhaps more prepared to be open, even though it's anonymously open,
mm,
more, they're a bit more able to share. So that could be the reason why. But I do think that we are genetically wired to be caregivers, and we go through life being caregivers. And I can only speak again from sort of individual experience with some people that I have worked with, and that is very much the case that they have been caregivers, and put other people first, and not worried about their own needs, or not even been given the opportunity to think about their own needs.
mm,
And then they've had a dog come into their life that, going back to an earlier part of the conversation, that actually most people might be able to say, oh, that's natural behavior. Don't worry, don't worry.
mm,
They'll grow out of it, or if you do this, that will help that. But to some people, it's like, I can't deal with this. I
mm,
cannot, because it's like trigger stacking in dogs, isn't it? If we layer and we layer and we layer and we layer and we layer, and we get to the point where that tiny thing can absolutely just tip us, and we go, that's it, can't deal with it anymore.
mm,
Um, and that can lead to, I can't have this dog anymore. Or it can lead to these wonderful people that are actually recognizing that they're at that point,
mm,
for saying, what's out there? What can I find that can support me through this anxiety and this helplessness that I'm feeling, and what is there for me, and how do I access that? Um,
yeah.
so it's so difficult. It's so difficult because yeah, we want to please, don't we?
Yeah.
And that's why when somebody tells us off or shouts at us when we're out and about with our dogs, it's difficult to find your own voice to say, what do you know? Excuse me, you're not living my life. We are more likely to say, your dog's not looking very happy, because we know that dog can't speak,
Mm,
than say, don't attack me. We won't protect ourselves, but we might protect the
yeah.
dog that we're
Yeah.
we're looking at and thinking, you're really not a happy dog. We find our voices for that, but we're caregivers, so we care for
Mm,
ourselves.
yeah.
So
That's beautiful, Maggie. Um, you're absolutely right. Do you think that, I mean, I know what I think. Do you think that the idea that we have as a culture that if we're having dog problems that are stressing us out and our dog's having a create showing us behaviors that cause us problems, how damaging do you think the idea that we need dog training is in that situation?
I think it can be really damaging. Um, oh, it's a fine line, isn't it? Because I mean, obviously, that's what I've trained and spent 4 years of my life doing, to learn how to be a good trainer and behaviourist. So I would like to say that if you find yourself in a situation where you're struggling with your dog, and you're really struggling, and don't, I would say, don't look on the internet and go to YouTube to
Mm.
Fred Fred Smith, who's showing you how to do it, and even television programs. There's even
Mm.
research on some of the damage that some of these television programs do. So the wrong training can absolutely be damaging to you as an individual and to your dog. I think training in its own right can be very helpful if it's with the right people, the right person who gets to know you and your dog, because training can only work if you also spend time assessing the person that your
Mm.
dog assessing. That sounds clinical. I don't mean it to sound clinical, but but you can go in as a trainer with a set of things to do, your tick list as a trainer, and some people will be able to take that and do all the homework and do it wonderfully, and that works with their dog. And this is all, I'm talking all about positive stuff here,
Mm.
not anything negative, but this is all, you put those plans into action, you follow the plans religiously, and it works, and you're very happy, and that has resolved your situation, and that is
Mm.
great. But then you can go in with the same set of rules or same tick list to somebody who's anxious, who hasn't got the headspace, who hasn't got the time, who worries because they're not sure whether they can accommodate that, or what exactly does that mean? I don't know whether I'm doing it right. So same trainer, same tick list, completely different situation,
Mm.
completely different result. Dog doesn't benefit, person feels even less capable. So that's why it's so important to, and this is what research is saying at the moment, you've got to look at what can your person accommodate?
Mm.
How much can they accommodate? What can they realistically cope with? And you know what? If they don't follow the program, that doesn't matter. Let's find another way. Let's find a way of
Mm.
working on this that will work for you. Because training and behavior work does help and can help
Mm.
in so many ways, if it's the right training, the right behavior that is appropriate for the dog and for their person.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, yeah. It's because to me, training and behavior from an educated stance is more like teaching coping strategies
yeah, yeah,
as opposed to teaching a behavior. What you're doing is you're strategizing for the dog to be able to cope,
yeah.
and undoing bad feelings, I suppose.
I think that's absolutely right. I think you've put it beautifully, because that's what people like you and I, that's what we aim to do. What we want to do is give people management tools, and dogs management tools. We don't
Mm.
want them to walk beautifully to heel on a short lead. You know, some people might want that, and that's fine if that's what they want. I want my dog to have the freedom to do what he wants, and if he wants to stop
Mm.
and sniff, I want to stop and sniff and take him what is, watch him and enjoy taking pleasure from that. But I want to know that if a great big dog comes bowling towards me, I want a strategy that will help me and help my dog. So, two
Mm.
strategies that will help us both to manage that moment so that it is as manageable as we can possibly make it for me and for my dog. So that's what I want to learn, not to be able to tell my dog to sit, stay, lay, um, put the paw in the air. That's not for me,
Mm.
and I don't think that training is that's not my training. That's not
Yeah.
how I see training. So it's
Yeah.
very much it is very much coping strategies. How do we manage this? How can we manage this? How can we help our dog regulate after they've had a frightening experience? how can I regulate after I've had a fright?
Mm.
How can we regulate together? You know, what do I need to do? What do I need to do for them? And I need to learn not to rush, because actually my dog might take 3 days to get over this.
Mm.
And that's all right. And so it's
Yeah.
those are the sort of things that I want to teach, if you like. That
Yeah.
um, yeah, yeah. So it's about this. It's about this relationship.
Yeah. And research is catching up, isn't it? So much. With
Hugely.
so much research on the relationship and the physiology and how we regulate together and template together, and even how our heart rate variability and our dog's heart rate variability becomes aligned. And so with all that in mind, where are you going to take this with this clear heart work, this clear why you're on this planet? Where are you going to take it next?
Oh gosh. Well, I am. I think I said to you before we started to record that I kind of lost my mojo a bit. Not in my love of dog or my love of people. That's always been there. That will never
Mm,
ever change. But in my direction, I suppose, and that was because was I did I need to compete with other behaviourists and
mm,
trainers? And of course, as I said, I've got a great college on my doorstep. So we have a lot of actually really good behaviourists and trainers who use all the right methods in my area. So did I want to get into that competing situation? So I did a bit of that, and I kind of lost sight of my heart work, as you call it. And then I was invited to go back to speak at my university to the new master's cohort, um, and and that was it, Sally. It just reminded me of actually
mm,
and what I wanted to do. So where I want to go with this is I really want to get this community of people together who are struggling.
mm,
Um, and I would like that to be as broad as we can possibly get it, because just the little bit of feedback that I had at the moment are things like, I thought I was on my own. I didn't realize other people were going through this. So I really want to build a community.
mm,
And I would like people to support each other through this, because who better to support people that are going through this than people that are either also going through it or who have been through it. And under the umbrella of um, my the knowledge that I have and that I continue to I continue to learn. I'll never stop learning. I will never stop taking courses, which is terrible. Uh, so under that guidance and the umbrella of people like yourself, and it's getting that community understanding how we can all move forward and get support and real understanding and um, real sort of um, the knowledge from people that are the best people to deliver that. So great behaviourists, great trainers, great people that understand, really understand dogs, really understand relationships. So my next move is building a community. And I really hope people embrace it, and I hope people come on board with it, because I think that we can really, really help people to understand and actually stop beating themselves up about it.
mm,
That's the key. Stop beating yourself up about this. Is absolutely real, and science is backing it up now, which is brilliant. I want to carry on looking at the research, because it's getting legs now, and it's only just
mm,
recently that it's getting legs, but it is getting legs now. So I'd like to share the research, but in understandable terms, so that people
mm.
really appreciate what the research is saying. And I'm not for 1 minute saying that people couldn't pick up a research paper and read it and fully understand it. But it's much easier if I do that and then present the facts
Mm.
for people
Yeah.
in sort of bite-sized bite-sized pieces. So just want to make a community.
You will.
And I want it to work for
Will.
people and their dogs, and I want to support both of them, both sides of it, and I want to build
Yeah.
this relationship, get these relationships going. So yeah, that's the whole approach for me, and I hope I can take it to my clients, but I really hope I can take it to a much wider audience, just so that they get that peer support that I think so many people need.
Brilliant.
So that's it.
One more question. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
yeah,
So, it's a bit of a thinker. So, you have trained as a dog trainer behaviourist, you've done your masters, and then you got into a situation where you had to find your place.
yeah.
And you've clearly found that place. It just shines from you that this is what you need to be doing. This is your work. What would you say to other people who have dogs in their heart, who have done all of the training, all of the good education, but have um a little voice, a little whisper that says you could do this, but no one else is doing it, so they're scared of doing something that no one else is doing because it might be a risk. They might be laughed at. It might not work. What would you say to those people that get the call and are worried?
Oh, I would say, from experience, I would say go with your instinct, just go with your guts, because I think that our brains override our gut all the time. And that's where we get the doubt, the pecking in your
Mm.
brain, going, "Oh, you can't do that," and you don't know enough is a really good one. Imposter syndrome, you don't know enough, you can't do that.
Mm.
Don't be silly, you can't do that. You need another course, which is and I'm sure I'm not the only person that's felt like that. I would say, your gut tells you, your instinct does tell you. So listen to your instinct. And if you fail, does it really matter? No, does it matter? And are you likely to if you're really going with what you know is right for you? Because you can't fail, can you?
Mm.
You can't fail in that. And so
No.
I say, just don't dip your toe in the water, jump in and see where it leads you. Because if you're trying to help, really truly trying to help in a really, really positive way, then people will find you. People will find
Beautiful. People will come.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if your instinct is telling you it's needed in the world, there are people in the world that need it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so so switch this off and go with this, and go with your gut, go with your heart, and take a punt on yourself, because you might end
Mm.
up doing wonderful things. Wonderful things.
Yeah, beautiful. It just struck me there that you're the third podcast, and all of you have followed your heart completely and are doing exactly what you want to be doing, exactly what that little whisper has told you to do. And all three of you have been amazing women,
Thank,
amazing.
thank
So,
you. Thank
yes,
you.
so inspiring.
That's kind. Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah.
So,
So,
is there anything else you'd like to share?
no, no, I don't think so. I would just like to say thank you for listening. It's been lovely to be able to
It
just sort of
has.
talk about something that I'm so passionate about, with somebody like yourself, and hopefully people will enjoy listening.
Yeah, and you'll be able to share it with your group as well.
Yeah,
So,
that's super.
um, it's been amazing, Maggie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm really looking forward to seeing it just explode for you because this is so early on in your journey and people are saying the things that they're saying to you. what your gut feeling is clearly needed in the world. So
Oh yes, yeah, yeah. I think so. I think it's needed for me as well, Sally. I think I need to do this. I know I need to do this, and I hope people come on board. And if I help one person, if one person and one dog gets something out of it, then it's been worth it, hasn't it?
yeah, it's going to be many more than one person and one dog there. So
So,
get ready.
well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. I've loved it.
Yeah, it's been lovely. It has. And I'll pop, so for the people who are watching, I'll pop Maggie's links below and I'll pop the link to the community that I run below. And then you'll be able to see, go and follow Maggie and see what she's doing. And join the community if you would like to. It's a very nice place. And we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Sally. Bye.
Bye. Maggie, you don't have to go.
Yes.
I was just saying goodbye, so I was going, bye. Maggie, don't go. Bye. I can cut the end off.